The Plant Paradox by Dr. Stephen Gundry. Now, for all of my viewers who have alopecia areata and other autoimmune diseases, his theory goes along heavily with the AIP diet, autoimmune paleo diet, and it's all about decreasing the amount of inflammation in our bodies. So guys, this book, extremely, extremely informative. It's in the description below. Let's get started. So his thing is about lectins, right? So this is the plant paradox. All plants have lectins, right? And lectins are the plant's long-term defense mechanism. So when animals eat these plants, they digest these lectins, and the lectins trigger long-term diseases in these animals, which then in turn teaches them not to eat these plants. So that's the big thing when people, they have tomatoes, potatoes, nightshades, all these foods, and some people who are sensitive to them because of the lectins, they can't eat them. And that's why some autoimmune diseases happen, and that's why eating a lot of high lectin content foods can trigger autoimmune diseases, because high lectin content foods increase inflammation. So this is how it works. I copied this straight from this book. So lectins, they're the sticky proteins that bind to sugars, and their strategy is to pry apart our tight junctions in the mucosal lining of our gut wall. So once they're there, they trigger the production of a protein called zonulin, which is the key to opening and unlocking the tight junctions. So microscopic holes develop in the gut wall. And then bacteria particles, lipopolysaccharides, they're literal pieces of little shit, escape, and the immune system attacks the invaders, which causes inflammation. So guys, all the lectins that we consume, it's opening up our gut wall, and then these free radicals, these oxidative stress, literal pieces of poop go into our bloodstream, and it causes the immune system to attack our body, which results in autoimmune flare-ups. And where there's inflammation, there's a battle going on. So the body needs fuel to fight off the excess fat that's stored. So that's why, the beer belly, it's because of all the wheat that people eat, that's why all the inflammation's by our stomach, because our stomachs can't digest things. And so lectins are also stealthy. They closely resemble harmless proteins that make up the skin, joints, nerves, and thyroid. So it attacks them, and that's also partly the reason why autoimmune disease happens. And this is interesting. So organic free-range chicken, when some of his patients cut it out, this reduced a lot of people's symptoms, because organic range-free chickens, they eat corn and soy, which are very high lectin foods, which then get passed on to us. I thought that was very interesting. And there's also the wheat germ agglutinin. It's way worse than gluten because it mimics insulin, and it attaches to the same cells as insulin, but it never lets go. So the cell doesn't get the energy it needs. And as a result, you feel hungrier and eat more and more and more. And I absolutely love this. What's more important is not what you eat, but what you don't eat. So key, so key. And he stressed, green bananas, mangoes, and papaya should be, they're the best fruits, and they should really be the only fruits you eat because of their resistant starch content. So resistant starch doesn't get digested in the small intestine. It goes straight to the large intestine, which is good for some reason, because the fruits, then they don't ferment in your gut. They're allowed to pass through, and your body reaps the nutrients without the fermenting, which causes harm. And whenever you see labels in the store, pasture-raised chicken, 100% grass-fed beef, any other labels like that, they're all half-truths, or even just completely false. If it's 100% grass-fed beef, or free-range chicken, that means they got to go out and play for like 5 minutes a day or something crazy like that. So just be careful of that. Look into hemp, tofu, and milk. And specifically, there's like a corn brand he kept mentioning. I don't know if he has his interest in this, but it's a mushroom extract protein. I do use mushroom extracts. They're awesome. Also, if you want to have rice, have Indian basmati rice. He said this, rice was invented fairly short ago, and Indian basmati rice has been around the longest time. So that's the type of rice that our bodies are the most familiar with digesting. And there's also tempeh, which is like a kind of like a tofu type of thing. They're all good options to prevent inflammation. So tofu and also tempeh, they're soy products. And for the AIP diet, it says soy is a big inflammation producer. However, if you get pure soy, it fights against inflammation. But if you're getting whey protein soy isolates in protein bars and in cereals, soy in those, it's not good because it's heavily processed. And then you got millet and sorghum. These are the only two grains that are gluten-free naturally. Thought that was interesting. And if you're going to eat beans and legumes, pressure cook them. Same with nightshades, potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, beans, legumes. If you're going to eat them, pressure cook them. This decreases the lectin content by like 40 to 60%, sometimes even higher. And our daily protein needs are much less than people think. He says divide your weight by 2.2 and then multiply by 0.37 to get your daily amount of protein needed. So for me, I weigh about 140 pounds. Divide that by 2.2 is about maybe 60. And then multiply that by 0.37, so a third of 60. That's about 20, maybe 25 grams of protein that I actually need per day. I think he's true because I have experimented with things. I don't know if I've ever gone that low on protein because I do work out a lot. So I think if you work out more, you need more protein. But I do think our general protein needs that are recommended are extremely high and are just there to push meat and benefit the meat industry. This is interesting. So 80% of his autoimmune patients are vitamin D deficient. So if you have an autoimmune disease, if you have alopecia areata, take 5K or 10K IU. It just comes on the bottles of vitamin 3 daily if you have an autoimmune disease. I take that. It was prescribed by my holistic doctor. It's awesome. It's actually a chewable tablet. I love that. Mixed berry flavor. Great. So there's also, you can have psyllium husks for prebiotics. Make sure you're getting a really good source though, because some of them do contain lead and things like that. I don't really do psyllium husks, but you could if you want. I don't know. And then there's also glucosamine or D-mannose, which is the active ingredient in cranberries. Those are lectin blockers. So if you have potatoes, tomatoes, some of these very high lectin content foods, beans, legumes, peanut butter, you can have some cranberries or other things like this, and that is a lectin blocker. And there's also zinc, selenium, berberine, and turmeric. These are all sugar blockers and blood sugar stabilizers. So if you're gonna have a couple cookies or whatever, have some turmeric, or sprinkle some turmeric on it maybe. I don't know. And he said, for the plant paradox, all nuts are okay except for cashews and peanuts. So peanuts is also a legume, and cashews and unpeeled almonds. They all have a high lectin content, so you probably want to stay away from them. But blanched almonds and almond butter for the win. Those are good and don't have a high lectin content, so they're good if you want to eat on his plant paradox type of diet. That's it for Plant Paradox. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. And, keep on getting smarter, keep on coming back, keep on learning more and more and more. Expand that brain. Make sure to like this video if you thought it was valuable and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys.
So lifelong learning and reading books is just one part of Sticky Habits University and Discipline 101. Imagine kicking all your bad habits to the curb, and imagine how successful you'd feel after implementing 10 new healthy habits. After enrolling in Discipline 101, my new course, that's how you'll feel every single day. Because it's simple. It all boils down to constantly reinventing yourself through self-discipline and healthy habits, because that maximizes your freedom and it maximizes your fulfillment. Living like this changed my life. Go check it out.